Hi guys, it's Andrea here from Pink Cake Princess. Today is April Fool's Day and I'm going to create something a little bit different. I'm going to make a Frozen Fever Elsa Doll cake, but all made out of Play-Doh. So this cake isn't actually edible, but it's great fun for the little kiddies to get into making with you. I know my girls are always trying to get into my fondant icing when I'm creating a cake, and they're always wanting to create their own little creations. Anyway, I came up with this particular design and technique just so that they could have some fun as well. If you think your princess will love this type of cake, don't forget to subscribe and join in the fun. You can also see how to make my homemade Play-Doh recipe with a link at the end of the video. It's very similar to store-bought Play-Doh. Okay, to start with, I'm laying out a plastic tablecloth on my table, and then I'm rolling out some green Play-Doh. I'm going to texture the Play-Doh by pressing in this food packaging. This is just the bottom of a pancake packet that I bought. Now I'm using a roller cutter or a pizza cutter just to cut out a rectangle shape. Lifting it up gently, you can see the pattern on the Play-Doh, and I've placed it onto my Elsa Doll. Just gently pressing the edges in. Careful not to press onto the front because you don't want to press over the nice pattern. Now trimming the excess at the back. And placing her aside. Now I'm using a 10cm pan and I've placed some cling wrap in it. And then I'm going to place some of my non-coloured Play-Doh to create my little Play-Doh cake inside it. I'm going to create 4 little Play-Doh cakes by just pressing in the Play-Doh until it forms my little cake and gently lifting it off. And here I am just using a plastic container just to show you that you don't need any fancy pans. Okay, now once you've got your 4 Play-Doh cakes, you can stack them on top of each other. And then using a plastic knife, I'm just going to trim the top off just to form the top of Elsa's dress. You could also create this shape by using a bowl to put your Play-Doh in. Okay, now taking it apart again and then using my plastic knife to cut out the centers of each of the Play-Doh cakes. You could also use a circle cutter to cut this part out. Once all the centers are cut out, I'm going to stack them on top again. And then just placing my Elsa doll in just to check that she fits. Okay, now I'm placing the Play-Doh cake onto a cake stand, but you can just place her on a cake if you don't have a cake stand. Okay, now onto some green Play-Doh. I'm rolling it out so that it's almost like a rectangle. And then I'm stretching it out a little bit more just to make it wider. And once it's big enough, I'm going to use my roller cutter just to cut off the bottom and the sides, tapering up at the top so that it looks almost like a large skirt shape. Now lifting it up gently off my mat and then placing it onto my Play-Doh cake. Now just shaping the Play-Doh to form Elsa's lovely skirt. And using scissors to trim off the excess at the top, and also trimming the excess on the side, and then just gently cutting off the excess. Now the texture of the Play-Doh isn't exactly like fondant icing, so you just got to be a little bit more careful that when you're playing with it so that it doesn't rip. trimming the excess off. Using my pizza cutter or my roller cutter to trim off the excess at the bottom. And now back to my Elsa doll. I'm going to place her into the Play-Doh cake. And now rolling out a little round sausage shape. And then placing it around where her hips are, just to hide the little joins so that you don't see any of her skin. Pressing gently down to make it flat around instead of looking like a sausage. And now moving on to some lighter green Play-Doh. Again using my roller to stretch it out. And this time I'm rolling it almost like a triangle. And then using my roller cutter to cut the bottom off. And then cutting the sides off. Tapering in at the top. And then cutting down the middle. Okay, I'm using some snow plunger cutters just to create some snowflake impressions into the Play-Doh. This is just an optional step. You could also use stamps or anything else that you've got to emboss just to make it look pretty. Okay, gently lifting up one sheet and placing it just under Elsa's arm and gently pressing in so that it sticks to the Play-Doh, but careful not to squash the pattern on the Play-Doh. Again, doing the other side. Gently pressing in and shaping the Play-Doh slightly. The Play-Doh is sticky, so you don't need to add any water or anything like that, but it's not too sticky. And I'm just trimming off the excess at the back, and Elsa's looking very pretty already. Okay, now just to finish off her dress at the top, we're rolling a little strip of the light green Play-Doh and cutting out a long strip. That's just going to go around the top, around her shoulders, just to finish the dress off. Okay, I'm using some flower cutters to create the little flowers that goes on her dress. I've rolled out some red Play-Doh and I'm using my little cutters to cut out the little flowers in different sizes. And here I am showing you how to create the flower if you don't have the cutters, just using a couple of toothpicks just to create the little flower. And if you want to, you can go in and pinch the petals up so they look even prettier. Okay, now adding the little flowers onto Elsa's dress. And adding the flower that I handmade on top of her hair. Adding 3 little flowers to her torso area, and then adding little flowers along the side of her dress on both sides. Okay, rolling out a thin strip of light green Play-Doh. If you have an extruder, you can use that with your Play-Doh to create these little stems. Now adding the stems onto her dress. And to finish it off, we're creating some little candle holders and placing our candles on for our pretend Elsa Play-Doh cake. Now once you cut her open, she is just like a cake, but obviously you can't eat this cake, it's just for pure play. perfect with your tea parties, with your little princesses at home. Just make sure that they don't actually eat it. I mean, if they do, it doesn't hurt them, but it is very salty. Now here are my princesses playing with this princess Play-Doh cake.
And don't forget to subscribe.
And you can click on the links on the screen here or in the video description below to see how I actually decorate real cakes, or you can also see how I create my Play-Doh. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. Click a like if you have.
Maybe lollipops is so bad to eat. Yes, eat. Drink this medicine.